Pozdravljeni v avtomobilnosti. Če bi sklepali zgolj po številu predstavljenih avtomobilov, letošnji frankfurtski salon ne bi bil nič posebnega.
Če pa že ni bilo presežkov novosti, je bilo pa vsaj zelo veliko obljub avtomobilskih proizvajalcev, malo tudi marketinških, ki jih je bilo treba brati celo med vrsticami. No, preden gremo k dešifriranju, pa poglejmo nekaj utrinkov z letošnjega frankfurtskega avtomobilskega salona. Prva od novosti, ki vam jo predstavljamo, je zelo zanimiva tudi za naše ceste. Škoda Karoq, ki je mlajši brat Škode Kodiaq in pa lahko bi rekli celo brat dvojček Seata Ateque. Bomo videli, kako uspešen bo v primerjavi s prodajo obeh ostalih dveh, ki sta uspešnici pri nas. Da je Karoq v resnici mali Kodiaq, govori tudi to, da ima nova Škoda 5 sedežev. A naj bo Karoq manjši, pa je vendarle za en avtomobilski razred večji SUV v primerjavi s težko pričakovanim Volkswagenom T-Rockom. Ime, ki asocira, da je kupejevskega široka poteptal slavni dinozaver, namreč označuje drzneje oblikovanega SUV-ja polove osnove, kar se glede na prodajne številke zdi velikostni razred, ki ga je čakala zares številna množica. Marsikateri element T-Rocka je sicer že znan, poznamo ga že z Audija Q2, je pa ta mali Volkswagen v primerjavi s tekmeci dokaj napreden, vsaj kar se tiče asistenčnih sistemov. Mala SUV-ja sta tudi novi korejski vozili Hyundai Kona in Kia Stonic. Seveda gre tudi v obeh korejskih izdelkih za tehnična dvojčka. Skupno pa ima je tudi to, da sta oba neobičajno mladostno drzno oblikovana v primerjavi z drugimi izdelki teh znamk. Kar pa imajo radi mladi, obožujejo starejši. Opel Grandland X je še en serijski SUV, ki svojo pot začenja v Frankfurtu. Gre za večjega SUV-ja, tehnično sorodnega aktualnemu slovenskemu avtu leta. Opel pravi, da bo to prvi Opel, ki bo na voljo tudi kot priključni hibrid. BMW-jev X7 je sicer za zdaj še koncept, a ni nobenega dvoma. BMW bo kmalu ponudil 7-sedežnega družinskega SUV-ja najvišjega ranga. Na Volvovi bočni silhueti je nova maska z orjaškima ledvičkama, ki jih skoraj zagotovo ne vidimo zadnjič. Seznam novosti pa zaključujemo s Seatom Arono, malim cestnim terencem, ki je najbolj rastoč segment v avtomobilski industriji ta hip. Seat Arona je zanimivo narejen na platformi, lahko rečemo, sorodnika Ibize, je pa trojček Volkswagenovega T-Rocka ali pa Audijevega modela Q2. Kaj je še zanimivega, kar se tiče tega malega cestnega terenca, je, da je naslednja stopnja povezljivosti, ki jo lahko uporabljate v njem. Amazonova Alexa vam bo pomagala pri vožnji in bo prepoznavala vaš glas, nekaj podobnega kot pri Applu dela Siri ali pa pri Googlu Voice Recognition. Je pa connectivity oziroma povezljivost eden izmed Seatovih paradnih konj in zato ga tudi dela kot znamko, ki najbolj v tem trenutku raste po prodaji.
It's a great time at Seat. We're in the middle of our biggest product offensive in all our history. Seat is now the fastest growing brand in Europe.
It seems like that you found your customers.
Yeah, I think you can see here this environment, the stand here is certainly targeted at young people. It's not a typical corporate environment. When you see the way our people are dressed, the way we present the car, we're obviously talking to a young target group, the next generation. So for young people, they have got a limited budget, they have a certain amount of money they can spend a month. we try and make an offer that's affordable for them. So, you know, if we offer a car at €150 a month and an Avita in private leasing with a cheap insurance for young people, which is important.
Do you see a problem that the young people don't only they start driving later or they buy cars later in the age? The population is aging as well. You know, we have more older and older people. How to reach out to them, or are you just letting them out of the picture?
You know, I'm 51, but I still feel young. So it depends. Young is not in the energy. Yeah. So young is not only how old are you in years. It's your mindset, and I think we appeal to the young-minded as well.
You're always, I'd say a trendsetter inside the Volkswagen Group.
We say we're the gate into the group, the entry into the group for young people. So that's our role in the group. I mean, we can't try and copy Volkswagen or Skoda. We have to have our own position, and that's very clear for me. It's talking to young people, the next generation, people getting their first car, their first mobility, and within the Volkswagen Group, SEAT should offer that.
Na tokratnem salonu pa smo bili priča tudi skoraj vsem avtomobilskim proizvajalcem, ki so za bližnjo prihodnost do leta 2020-2025 napovedali, da bodo imeli skoraj vso floto v obliki električnih vozil. Ampak tu moramo pogledati še eno skrito sporočilo, saj to lahko malo drugače interpretiramo, kot da dejansko ne bodo vsa vozila zgolj električna, ampak z nekimi električnimi pomagali.
Da bi lažje ujeli skrita sporočila in da bi pravzaprav razumeli, kaj nam sporočajo, ker tukaj izrečene besede ne pomenijo nujno tistega, kar si mi mislimo, da pomenijo, moramo letošnji Frankfurt in čas, v katerem se dogaja, povezati z nemškimi političnimi dogodki. Smo ravno v času izbora za nemškega kanclerja ali kanclerko. Nemški politični prostor je letos prežet z visokoletečimi obljubami o tem, kako bo že bližnja prihodnost popolnoma elektrificirana. In to je to sporočilo, ki ga je večina avtomobilističnih proizvajalcev letos v Frankfurtu sporočalo. Skrito sporočilo pa je, da elektrifikacija ne pomeni nujno tudi povsem električnih avtomobilov. To v resnici pomeni to. Ko avtomobilski proizvajalci govorijo o tem, da bo 2020, 2025 njihova flota avtomobilov elektrificirana, to ne pomeni, da bojo vsi avtomobili zgolj električni. To zgolj pomeni to, da bodo v njihovih avtomobilih na nek način vključili tudi elektriko. Predvsem pa bo elektrika povezana z benzinskim motorjem, elektromotor je tamle in tukajle rekuperacija zavorne sile in v povezavi z baterijo.
Pravzaprav temu potem ne bi smeli reči dobesedno elektrifikacija, ampak bolje hibridizacija.
Ja, ampak elektrifikacija se bolje sliši.
Ampak ja, marketinško gledano. Ampak hibride poznamo že več kot 20 let, prodajajo se že več kot 20 let in to ni nekaj novega. Kar je lepo rekel tudi eden iz vodstva kitajskega podjetja, ki se tudi tu predstavlja, da v Evropi že zadnji 2 leti govorimo samo o hibridih in električnih vozilih, ko pa pogledaš stanje na cestah, jih je pa roko na srce zelo malo.
No, o stanju na cestah pa veliko pove tudi to, da hibride poznamo že več kot 100 let. Že 20 let je v prodaji hibrid. Toliko časa je torej potrebno, da neka nova tehnologija v resnici pride v prodajo in ne smemo reči, da trenutni napori avtomobilske industrije, da svoj bencinski, pretežno bencinski motor poveže za neke vrste elektriko, je napredek in korak k drugačni mobilnosti.
Level 4 means that the car is taking over everything, so you can bring your seat backwards, the interface is moving with you, and level 5 is one step ahead, that means no steering wheel anymore.
The moment where we don't have to have a steering wheel and pedals, we have a new room that we can create. You know, when you drive, there are so many rules about the A-post, about your vision angles and everything. So without that, you can be more creative.
And if you think about to design interior, where there's no steering wheel anymore, you can create on a white piece of paper. So we changed we modified completely the layout of the car. In A8, the first class seats in the back. In the Icon, why do you have to sit in the back? It's a better view on the road and on the old environment in the front. That's why we moved the back seats to the front.
Do the autonomous cars present an opportunity for new materials in the design? I think there will be a huge revolution one day when we are sure we don't have crashes anymore. Because today we still need to be very solid with our cars. Even the first autonomous cars that we will see in a couple of years, they will have to be very solid. So you need steel, aluminium and all the materials we use today. But imagine a future where all cars are connected, all vehicles are connected, and we can make sure there is no crash because every car knows exactly where the others are. In that moment, we have total freedom with materials.
And we'll go to back to wood, as it was before.
It's possible. Wood, paper, you name it.
Do you think that the cars that are coming and are a bit futuristic are going to change the landscape, the architecture of the cities as well?
You're absolutely right. You have to see it together. Buildings, streets, and the vehicles in the streets. The cars are part of the aesthetics we are enjoying. So
Definitely, because I think that the car has to change as well. For example, if you want a passenger want to pass the road, today you get a view to the driver, the driver recognizes me and you walk through the road. What you're doing is there's a car coming and I'm sleeping. So that's why we thought about and we can visualize this, that we communicate with the headlights. This is something which we have to think about as well, not only cities, we as well.
In our philosophy, we try to not really request concrete infrastructural measures because it's going to take a lot of time until infrastructure is really implemented. What we will need is some level of connectivity so that we can communicate with our backend, for example, to include relevant weather information or traffic information, stuff like that. But we try to get rid or not really required infrastructure because that would have to be readily available everywhere before we start, and we don't see that realistic.
How do you plan to sell autonomous driving to the ever-aging world population of drivers?
Well, we think the offer of autonomous driving is very attractive for all ages. Let's talk about different scenarios. It's young drivers who even don't have their driver's license yet, so they could be mobile with autonomous driving. It's about people who are ill for a moment, or if you have a glass of wine and still want to get home, you could use it. And of course, elderly people and handicapped people would also have the chance to stay mobile and really go from A to B wherever and whenever they want at any age. And that, I think, is a big offer for all of the ages.
I don't see my mother letting the wheel go. How to convince those people to just let go?
Well, the good story is nobody has to let go if he or she is not comfortable with. For a very long time, we still have the steering wheel and the pedals available in the vehicles. So for customers who just want to do the driving, they are free to do it. On the other hand, how we convince people that it's safe, this is how you get accustomed to every new technology. You sit in, you have a ride, maybe by somebody else, getting explained what's happening, gaining confidence. And then step by step you recognize, oh, well, it's working. And you gain that from every moment to the next moment to see, well, it's really coping with every situation. And then you gain trust and gain confidence. We do our algorithms even redundant. So even if there is a software failure, there is another part of software who compensates for it. And if you explain the overall approach, we think that we can explain that what we do is very reasonable and very, very attractive.
Ideja avtonomne vožnje pa je pravzaprav stara toliko kot avtomobili. Že leta 1939 je General Motors na svetovni razstavi v New Yorku pod sloganom Gradimo jutrišnji svet razstavil študijo električnega avtomobila, v katerem se na avtocesti volan pogrezne v armaturo. 78 let kasneje temu pravimo četrta stopnja avtonomne vožnje. V 60. letih prejšnjega stoletja pa so se v Angliji z žabo poskusno že vozili avtonomno in sicer celo pri še danes najvišji dovoljeni avtocestni hitrosti 130 km/h ter celo v vseh vremenskih razmerah, tudi po snegu.